Loved ones, this is Management 3234. This is session 7. If we were meeting, this would be day 2 of week 2. Just a couple of admin things to share that go quickly, and then we'll move into the substance of the presentation. The first thing is today would be 30 June 2020. And again, that would suggest a face-to-face meeting, but though we're not meeting face-to-face, today is the day that your article reviews are due, both of them. Please get them uploaded to Dropbox if you haven't already. The second thing actually is a segue into a topic I hadn't planned on discussing, but I got an email from a student, and it was good-spirited. There was nothing unkind or goofy about it. And I don't remember the kid's name, but the student said, I must have said something earlier that was suggested something about age, and he or she said, Dr. Norton, if you don't mind me asking, just how old are you? So I reflected on that, and I thought that I would not just, I did respond to the email, but I thought I'd share it with you. I am, let me take you back in time. I was born right after the Earth's crust cooled. Yes. Hard times back then. No Walmarts, no cell phones. When I got to be a teenager, I had a pet dinosaur named Bronco. Yes, I love Bronco. Used to ride him everywhere. I got my learner's permit on him. I rode him all through high school and college, and then we ate him. So, but the correct answer to age is to say that this is a worldview, this is a perspective. Age is a frame of mind if you and I have good health. And I know that because I've had bad health. Bad health can be debilitating. It means we can't do things that are almost essential to life. But if a man or a woman is in good health, age is a frame of mind. I thought that'd be a useful response to that question about just how old are you, Dr. Norton? So, today we jump back into the Journal of Management Education article because together you and I are going through the appendices that will ultimately take the form of your venture journal and 2 other documents, a PMT statement and a venture stream. And collectively those things represent a big chunk of your grade because those are the durable skills that I hope you take away from this course that we have together. So let me do this. Let me, I'm on folio right now, so let me jump into what will be Session 4 and Appendix D, Delta. So the side heading in the body of the paper describes this Session 4, and this Session 4 complements Appendix D in the back of the paper. Session 4, literally, if you look at the topic, or rather the title of the side heading, it says Updating the Composition of a Consideration Set. So what I want you to understand is the thrust. The fundamental thing that you're going to do when you get to this stage of work on your venture journal is you would have already created consideration sets. You have established the domains where you have competence. You've identified information channels that you think will be a reliable source of regular low-cost signals. And those information channels have been bundled, 3 or 4, or whatever the correct number is, into a consideration set. So now you have built this consideration set, but it's empty. There's nothing in it. It's a structure. It's a framework. So this section talks about updating the composition. So fundamentally, what you're going to do is you're going to develop search strategies. When, how, with what frequency, with what duration, what form will it take? So Appendix D, and I'll scroll down to it in just a moment, is fundamentally one where you're going to decide on search strategies. How will I search the various information channels in my consideration sets, whatever that number may be? So that's the target on the wall. You're going to develop search strategies for the consideration sets. And I think the next session, we talk about actually grabbing pieces of information and that sort of stuff. So let me scroll down through here and see what the body presents. All right, so this talks about search and not just developing a strategy, but actually carrying it out. We want you to carry out active searches of the consideration set. By that I mean, I gave you examples earlier when I was role-playing that I was a real estate developer. My domain for commercial real estate development would have several information channels. I was going to join a multiple listing service that realtors use. I was going to regularly meet with bankers who do commercial lending in this market. I was going to also be an active member of the chamber, attending meetings and interacting with chamber members and that sort of stuff. So I've identified 3 information channels. So now, what is my search strategy? I can promise you, if I do this systematically, and that's what the central theme of this theory is, if I do this systematically, I will literally set aside, I'm making this up right now, every Wednesday morning. And the Wednesday morning, I would plan on having two meetings with bankers. I might meet one over coffee and find out what new developments, if any, and I might meet one for lunch. So part of my every Wednesday would be dedicated to meeting with 2 people who do commercial real estate lending in this market. So there's my search strategy. Now, when I start doing it, I'm going to show up. Every meeting I've attended as an adult, I show up with notepaper and a pen. Not a phone that you're going to tap on. That's lame. That's a very poor mechanism. Some of you will use that, but I can promise you it's a poor mechanism because of the distractions and the limitations. But the point is, for these 2 meetings on Wednesday, the meeting over coffee, the meeting for lunch, I'm going to show up with a notepad. And I may have some questions in mind that are specific. I may say, I'm aware from the multiple listing service that a 200-acre tract is now available on the bypass and is zoned commercially. Do you know of anyone who's interested in it, or what might the case be? And the banker might say, yes, Jimmy Britt, the Dodge Chrysler Jeep dealer down on 301 South, has expressed an interest in buying that property and developing it. Well, I'm a developer, wouldn't I want to know that? The banker also may say, well, we have some new intel from the Office of the Controller of the Currency or the FDIC or anybody else that has regulatory oversight over bankers. And he might say to me, we have a new constraint, and that is that we can only loan 65% of the appraised value. That's an important piece of intel. What do you think Mrs. Norton's oldest son is going to write down? Precisely what I just said. There's a car dealership that might be interested in building a facility. There's a push by regulatory agencies to limit the loan-to-value relationship to 65%. So those are both signals, aren't they? They're packets that carry information. So in my search, first the strategy was that I developed a systematic search strategy. I said in the case of the bankers who do commercial lending that I'm going to meet twice on every Wednesday. And what if I call and somebody has to cancel? No big deal. It's a recurring event. You know, and there, my goodness, there must be 5 or 6 relatively major community banks in this city and 2 national banks. And a lot of them have bankers who do commercial lending. So there won't be any shortage of me meeting with people. And unsurprisingly, there's enormous value in developing relationships. The fact that we exchange time and energy and talent and insights, those things pay enormous dividends. So my point is, I'm just using that real estate developer consideration set as an example for me, developing search strategies. And then, as I literally enact these strategies, as I meet with the commercial lenders and that sort of stuff, whether it's over coffee or over a cheese hamburger, or whatever we decide to eat. It will not be vegan. Yes, Bill Norton is a carnivore. She imagined that. So, I've developed a search strategy. I'm going to meet with 2 people in commercial real estate lending every Wednesday. And when I have those meetings, yes, note paper. I write down what I learned in real time. And then I can absorb it. But the point is, I've conducted a search, and I have, in my example, I have 2 packets of information. A local business that wants to develop a new facility, and a new lending constraint on loan-to-value ratio of commercial properties. That's important intel. So those are signals that I'm going to grab and write down in my search. And this is going to be systematic. Could I put this in a 3-ring notebook? I could do that, couldn't I? Could I put this in a spreadsheet? I could do that, couldn't I? Doesn't really matter what the format is. It's just that once you develop a consideration set, once you have built the set, this part of the process says you must develop a search strategy, and then once you enact it, once you start meeting with people, you grab information in real time. And the information really just takes the form of signals. And it's improbable that you're going to act on them right away. That could happen, but it's more likely that you'll just be gathering information and building an important knowledge base from which to act. So, if you see this thing that says finally, students capture in all reasonable detail all discoveries, it is entirely possible that as you enact the search strategies that you've developed, that you'll come across something where the information packet, where the signal is compelling, that you would want to act on it. Now, what if I were interested in opening up an ice cream shop? And we have a Baskin-Robbins and a Brewster's here right now, but what if I found that there's someone else that has a franchised ice cream outfit, and they want a representation in this part of coastal Georgia? Well, I might say, well, heck, I have the experience in food service, I have the willingness, I have plenty of money set aside that I could pay the franchise fee and get the thing up and running. I might immediately contact the franchisor and say, let's sit down and talk. I believe I'd like to become a member of your franchise system. So again, it's possible that simply as you enact these search strategies that you'll have a discovery. If at this stage you find one, write down the information. Nobody says you have to invest in it today, do they? Now, let's do this. Again, I thought there'd be some richness in us looking at the body of the text, the part that was built for educators. So let's scroll down now to Appendix D, Delta. All right, these are the specific steps. This is the clear guidance that I expect you to act on as you develop your venture journal. When it says you've likely listed 6 areas of prior knowledge, I don't know what you've listed. I've been doing this for at least kissing 20 years, I guess. Truly teaching entrepreneurship with systematic search. So I have a substantial base of knowledge with my students' outputs, with their productivity. So you may have 3 or 4. I've seen some that have 12. I don't really care. So 6 is an artificial number, and I understand that. So you've listed some areas of prior knowledge. Now, at this point, you start selecting information channels that you want to search, and you do it. So now I have to go down to the next page. Imagine that. So, B, bravo, develop a sequence for searching these channels. Purposefully, you must come up with a strategy. Search strategies for every information channel that you have. Unsurprising, that's what this piece of the puzzle asks you to do. And then, as you learn while you're searching, you update the composition. You make brief notes of your experiences while searching the channels. I used an example of me meeting with a commercial real estate lender and me making notes on my trusty legal pad. Now, and then it says record a brief description of any discoveries. It is possible, it's probably premature, but it is possible that you'll make a discovery. And if you do, you have a format, a template where you could grab that. So let me scroll down and I'll show you what this is just meant to be a model of what your consideration sets and what your searches may look like. Okay, so I think that's, yes. So this little simple matrix is just meant to be demonstrative of what we're asking you to do. Here, in this little simple matrix, which is just meant to be a demonstration, we've identified one domain area, one knowledge domain. And here was restaurant development. And we have only 2 information channels, so this is kind of a skinny consideration set. We have industry association and trade publications. Now, what if there were 4 trade publications? That would actually be 5 information channels, wouldn't it? But this is just a simple collapse. It's a simplified presentation. So, industry association. So I joined the NRA. I've been a life member of the NRA for many years, but it's not the National Restaurant Association. It's a different NRA. And review the website for research, educational opportunities. So these are the actions. These are the search strategies. Industry trade publications. Visited university library. Oh yeah, heck yeah. Is that a good source of trade publications? Indeed it is. It's also entirely possible when you join the Industry Trade Association, they may introduce you. They may even, as part of that membership, there may be one. There may be a magazine that comes to you. I'm sure that the National Restaurant Association has some trade publication. So what we've done here is we've identified a single knowledge domain, restaurant development. We've identified 2 information channels, which represent a small consideration set. And we have developed search strategies. That's what this action piece is. And that's fundamentally all we're asking you to do. Now, clearly you have to enact the search strategies, don't you? And I talked about examples a moment ago. But the prime takeaway here is you to develop search strategies for every information channel in every consideration set. And then very soon after that, it's time to implement them. So, and that does represent the end of the discussion in Appendix D. So that's a wrap for today, today being session 7. Excuse me, please. Reminder that article reviews are due today. And certainly I would hope that I find them in Dropbox when I get back to my office. So, to end this particular video session, I simply have to ask you the attendance verification question. And today it is just delightfully simple. What was the name of my pet dinosaur? That's it. Love you. Talk to you all soon.